We continue the broadcast from Super Bowl 59 Radio Row. Chiefs and the Eagles set to take place coming up on Sunday. And a guy who's been on this show before is back with us. Shaun Alexander, NFL legend, Seattle Seahawks in the house. Shaun, how you doing?
Man, I am doing great. Isn't the energy for this week already hot? Like, I mean, I feel like this is like they're really excited already for it. It's Wednesday, right? Like, what are we, why is everybody so hyped already? Like, we got like 2 more days of talking before, but it's really cool, man. Seeing everybody, seeing some of the greats already walking by, and Radio Row is a lot of fun. It's the family reunion, man. It's really cool.
Well, it's history.
Yeah,
right. It's a historic three-peat that is right there for the Kansas City Chiefs, but. Of course, we know the Philadelphia Eagles, they have revenge on their minds after what took place a couple of years ago in Phoenix.
They started to run, didn't they?
I mean, that's exactly what it was. How wild is that? And with you being in your position, former tailback, you have so many people out there, I feel like there's Chiefs fatigue. Do you have any Chiefs fatigue?
No. I actually like winners.
Wow, a football player, an NFL legend like yourself likes winners. Funny how that works.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to me. I'm like, what are we upset about? Like, teams are good. Let them be good. Like, my team want to be great every week. We won a division like 4 years in a row, playoffs fire. Like, that's what it's supposed to be like. The great teams just stand up. So I think it's exciting. I think that all dynasties are pretty wonderful, But, of course, I went to Alabama, and my high school is ranked nationally. So I understand the other side is way more than the not, And so, I think what Chiefs are doing is fabulous and fascinating, how they're doing it with the same core and then a couple little pieces. I think it's just wonderful.
Yeah, how have they been able to maintain this? How have they been able to win 17 consecutive one-score games? How does a team do that?
Belief, the right foundation of what their team is made of, a great quarterback. They've got all the things that you need. You get a great quarterback, you get a great system. So Andy Reid's created that. You get the guys believing in. You always clean up anything that creates a lack of belief. Mm-hmm. So you get rid of players if you need to. You put the right guys on the field at the right time. They do all this stuff right, and so it gives you the opportunity to come through. And if the game's close, this is what usually happens.
Yeah, well, as you brought up, if the game's close, they always seem to find a way to do it. But how about Philly getting back to this point? If the Chiefs aren't going for a three-peat, I have a feeling we'd be talking about Jalen Hurts being back in the Super Bowl again. But I feel like no one has talked about that at all this week. And maybe it's because he's got a pretty good tailback that's rock solid at Saquon Barkley.
He's amazing.
Let's go to Saquon. You being a tailback, what makes Saquon Barkley such an elite running back in the NFL?
The greatest running backs always want these two things. One-on-one situation where if they break that tackle, something good can happen. 2, good enough receivers to make safeties go cover those guys. So if they do break it, there's no one back there. And so you're seeing what Saquon's doing is because he's got 2 great receivers. Mm-hmm. I think Kansas City always has to pay attention to, just all throughout history, when the best player on the team is good and the 2 next best players are Bama guys. That's not good. That's not good because you got, Jalen and you got, who am I thinking? Devontae Smith,
Mm-hmm.
Like the Eagles got a shot, though, to win, So you just can't come in too confident. And Kansas City does a great job of not doing that, but the possibility is there because of how their team is built. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. When you got the best players, Saquon, doing all these things that are wonderful, and then you got a bunch of other players that all believe that they're the best players. You got Heisman winner, and and they're coming in, and you got 2 All-Pro, Pro Bowl receivers. You've got a great offensive line. That's the Eagles. So the Eagles look like they do some things that could make the Kansas City Chiefs not win, and that's what's going to make this game so exciting.
How big is it for Kansas City to limit the explosive rushes of Saquon Barkley? Because someone asked the other day, if Saquon rushes for 120, does Kansas City win? And I go, well, it depends on how that 120 happens, right? If it's first play from line of scrimmage, 60-yard touchdown, like what Washington just dealt with last time out, probably not a good thing.
Yeah.
If you give up maybe 125, 30-yard rush, and then everything else is maybe within 5 to 10 yards now. Of course, that's still averaging 5 yards a carry, so still not good. But it just kind of depends on how it happens, right?
Yeah.
So how important is it for Kansas City to control the explosive plays from Saquon Barkley?
It is. It's the moment when they happen. So you're touching it, but if it's the first drive, the last drive of the quarter, the first drive of the third, you can't let Saquon get down in those times. You know what I mean? If he does, it's going to create an image that says we can do this. It's our turn. You know, we're going to fight the odds, us versus the world. You don't want none of those stories to there. And then, you know, what I say is if the Eagles have the ball and they're up 3, this is how they do it. Their 4-minute offense is not like everybody else's, which is to run out the clock. Their 4-minute offense is to score touchdowns, and that's what we had when we were in Seattle. We had many games where we won by 12, 13. We won by 10, and everybody's like, oh, man, you guys kind of seem like you ran away with it. No. It's a one-score game, and instead of people like, oh, we're going to hope we end this thing with down in the ball, we never end the games with victory. They were always touchdowns, and then we kick off, and then the other team throw it on last day complete pass, and they lost by a lot. You know what I mean? Like so that's where the Eagles have their shot is keeping the game close and having the ball with the lead in the fourth quarter to do their drive, because their 4-minute offense is their offense.
What about Kansas City when you have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce on offense? There still needs to be some sort of a commitment to trying to run the football, right?
Yeah.
It can't just be, hey, Patrick, you're going to throw 52 times. And this year it's been so intriguing because Isaiah Pacheco, who was great last year, suffers the injury, still don't think he's truly at 100%.
I don't think so either.
Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he'll go off on Sunday, but I don't think so. You pick up Kareem Hunt, who just waited for the phone call to happen, basically. He's a little bit older.
Yep.
But you could probably make the argument that he's the featured tailback for this Kansas City Chiefs team. And then Carson Steele, rookie, undrafted rookie. I don't know how much you're really going to see from him coming up on Sunday. But when you look at Kansas City's offense, you have Patrick Mahomes, but how important is it for Kansas City to still run the football with those two guys?
Yeah, I think it's all situational. I think Hunt's going to play great. You know what I mean? He usually does in the situation where he's like the underdog. He's the doubted one. And so he's going to play good, and he's going to give a shot. If he has a couple of big runs, being big, mean like plus 15. Wow. It's then the Eagles will be like, oh, my gosh, our defense can't stop them. If they don't, Andy knows the game backwards and forwards, but he just can't get away from running it altogether because that plays in the Eagles' advantage. Eagles got a lot of talented guys on their team. I would say that they have the best talented roster, kind of like Ohio State for college football. If you looked up and you're like, well, what was it about Ohio State? It's like they had the most talented, like, piece by piece. The Eagles sit in that same situation. And so Kansas City has to get them into a place where doubt comes in, and that's by scoring points and making plays, which, you know, no one has a better passing and offensive system than Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. So it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, and they're healthy, which is probably the most important thing. And yet they still don't have Rashee Rice, and yet they're still able to do what they're able to do offensively, which is truly incredible. If Patrick Mahomes gets this done, it's a historic three-peat. Tom Brady still the GOAT?
I think Brady's still the GOAT, but that's just kind of like it's kind of like when the president election's over in November and you're waiting a couple of months before he's inaugurated. That's what we just did. Like, if he wins, you're going to be like, oh, okay, so when's the inauguration?
I love it.
It's already here, but we got to wait a little bit, you know. So is it 1 year, 2 years? When are we going to just, you know, give him his title, you know? But it would definitely start. So because it would be 4.
Yeah.
That's just amazing.
5 of the last 6 years, first team to ever get to the Super Bowl. 5 of the last 6, which that in itself is pretty incredible. Obviously, yeah, we're living a dream right now, back in the Midwest. That's for sure. There's no doubt about it. I do want to talk about the offensive line for a moment for the Chiefs. Left tackle has been a point of emphasis all throughout the year. They try a rookie, Kingsley Suamataia. Not great, but not going to give up on him. He's going to come back next year, obviously. Wanya Morris gives it a try. Doesn't work. They bring in DJ Humphries. Doesn't work. Not truly fully healthy and explosive like his former self. Yep. So they take a left guard and Joe Tooney moving the left tackle. Yeah, Mike Caliendo, who's set to start at left guard. when you're a tailback and you have that movement, a left guard going the left tackle and you're bringing it back up left guard, does that do anything for you in your position as a tailback?
X's and O's wise, no, but you know that you don't have at least the confidence that everybody else doesn't have the confidence in that guy as you would want. So you want when a coach to call a play, be like, yeah, I gotta play, and so then he's easier for him to come back to it. You go back to it, everybody's feeling good about it, and so that it throws off the running game. It's the confidence of everybody in that system and in that game plan.
Last couple left for you, and then we got to let you get going. When you look at Pete Carroll going to
the
Las Vegas Raiders, how does that make you feel?
It's so wild. Like I feel like college football, NFL, like one of the greatest things was like the loyalty factor. I actually kind of, when fantasy football was going on, I was like, wait, I don't understand like how people are cheering for two different teams. So, it's because they got, people say to me, I love the Cowboys, but Shaun Alexander in fantasy football. I'm like, oh, like this is so weird. That's how I feel. I feel like, it's like you're.
I didn't have you in fantasy, so I don't have that feeling with you, by the way.
Yeah, you're like, like, it's like they're like, hey, man, you're USC and you're Seattle Seahawks. What are you doing with the Raiders? You know what I mean? Like that feels weird, and so I don't know. Like I guess there's no way to stop it because it's business, but it feels weird.
It's definitely strange.
Yeah.
Very strange. And he's going to have his work cut out for him. Guy by the name of Andy Reid doesn't make plans to go anywhere anytime soon. Sean Payton has been really good. And, of course, you have Jim Harbaugh, who also is doing pretty well as well. I'll get your pick here shortly, but let's talk about Stand Together.
Yeah.
Tell me about Stand Together.
Stand Together is about 850 of some of the greatest businessmen, women, and philanthropic leaders in the country. They put their times, talents, and treasures together to tackle some of the country's biggest issues, from community work to the judicial system to families and businesses being in communities. I love it. They've helped sponsor about 350 foundations to really jump into some of the biggest issues. And I just love the fact that they have said, hey, we can come up with a solution with a bunch of great people. And the philosophy is let's start from the bottom up. Who in communities is doing great work, and how do we help them do it at a higher level? And what is it as stars and celebrities, what is it that we could do together that could go much farther than what we could do by ourselves? And I've got the wonderful job of being their ambassador. Wonderful opportunity in pulling out current players and superstars and legends and past heroes and saying, hey, what community work is like stirring inside your heart? How can we all leave a legacy that could matter? And it's pretty cool.
Standtogether.org. Who you got?
Yeah, I've been thinking the whole time, you just don't go against Patrick Mahomes.
But
if you did, it would have to be a team that plays great defense, that runs the ball, and the Eagles do. So if the Eagles are close, if they're up around 3 in the fourth quarter, they're going to have a shot. But other than that, you can't do it.
All right, Shaun. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for dropping by once again.
Yeah, thank you, brother. All right.